It was a bit. So we all know that chronic stress leads to negative health outcomes. That's pretty well established. I think that's fine. But what if I told you that chronic stress doesn't have to lead to negative health outcomes? What if I told you there were alternatives? So I'm talking about things like resilience and anti-fragility. Before we get into it, let me just explain the difference. So in systems, you get three types. You get systems, talking about systems which experience stress or strain. You get systems which burn out, crumble, break apart when exposed to stress. You get systems that are resilient and withstand that stress. Then you get systems which are anti-fragile. Difference between them is obviously the first kind, the type that burns out, cannot withstand stress. That stress wipes it out, takes it off them, so to speak. End of. Resilient systems are better, obviously, but there's a crucial caveat with resiliency that most people overlook. Resiliency assumes, or rather, resilient systems assume that at some point the stress goes away. So the system can withstand the stress for a period of time. But in order for that system to bounce back and sustain itself, that stress has to be removed. It has to go away at some point, allowing the recovery. That obviously is a bit of a problem for the SEND community because our stress doesn't necessarily go away. It's not something you can escape. So what ends up happening if you're just trying to resilience is you end up in a slow of attrition. Stress doesn't ever truly let up. So you withstand, you withstand, you withstand, you withstand, you do what you can, but eventually you go from being resilient to burning out because your attrition is too much and you can't sustain that withstanding indefinitely. Then we get to the third type of system. The third type of system was described by Nassim Taleb as anti-fragile. And what that is it's a system that actually recognizes the stress as a input and adapts, grows to meet that input. So in other words, a demand is placed on it. It recognizes that it doesn't just withstand it, it actually adapts to meet that demand better. So that stress helps to make it stronger. That's an anti-fragile system. Now, humans have a choice. When it comes to chronic stress, the first thing we need to agree on is that for the SEND community, special needs parents, special needs carers, and educators, professionals, their stress, the source of the stress is the complex need of the children and the adults, the SEND children and adults that they're working with and trying to help. So that's not a source of stress that you just escape. It's not a source of stress that you seek to remove. You're not trying to get away from it. You're not trying to reduce it, right? You're trying to help these people and you're trying to help them meet their needs and give them the very best opportunity for development and function in a happy and fulfilling life. It's a tremendously worthwhile thing to do, but it is stressful, and meeting their complex needs in some cases can be massively stressful. I know this because I'm a SEND father myself. I've experienced this with my own autistic son. His needs are extremely complex and it is massively stressful, but we love him. We're trying to help him. He's not something that we try and get away from, trying to escape, obviously, like that. So you can't escape the source of the stress. That means the stress is chronic. Right? You're constantly exposed to it and it's not going away as such. You don't want it to go away. You want to help the child, the same person involved. So the real choice then is you can be resilient or you can be anti-fragile. Now, as I've covered, the problem with resiliency is it assumes that eventually the source of the stress is removed and you have a period of recovery. Most well-being tools, most occupational well-being tools, most support tools available to the SET community operate on the assumption that at some point the stress lifts and you have time to recover. What happens when you don't? This is more often than not the case. You don't have time to recover. The source of stress doesn't go away. Well, that's where I advocate for becoming anti-fragile. Human beings, interestingly, have anti-fragile elements already in existence in our biological design. For example, if we work out, our muscles and bones recognize that stress because that's what the workout is. It's a stress, and they adapt to grow our capacity and ability to undergo that stress again. Because we're strong, functional, fit, so that when you're exposed to that stress again, you're able to cope with it even better. You're able to meet its needs and demands. So that's just one simple example. If we fast, that is a metabolic stress. What happens? We adapt and our body learns to tap into our fat storage. So fat storage for energy. And we go into a state called autophagy, which is where your body recycles misfolded proteins and cellular components to reuse them. It cleans itself up from the inside. It's an efficiency. It improves you. So we have anti-fragile elements already built into our biology. So if you then focus on your metabolic health, understand that your metabolic health is the foundation to allowing you to become anti-fragile because it grows your biological capacity to withstand chronic stress without it leading to negative health outcomes, whether that be physical or mental. Then you enable yourself to make intelligent choices which improve your capacity and capability and help you to turn up better for the send people in your life that you're trying to help. That is what I'm advocating. I'm advocating for using metabolic psychology. In other words, the understanding that your metabolic health is foundational to your mental health and capacity. And I want to use it to provide systems and methods to build anti-fragility for the SEND community so that those of us in this community can consistently show up, can consistently be at our best, can consistently help the individuals in our care to thrive. So we will thrive in spite of chronic stress, in spite of the pressure. Everyone involved benefits from that.